What's up, YouTube world? This is One Take Luke. Hello. I want to talk to you today about the two focal length lenses that you really need at weddings. Now, there's a third lens that I'm going to throw in here also, and I'm going to get there. But I'm a prime guy. I love prime lenses. Prime lenses there's just a look associated with having a prime lens that just the zoom lenses that just don't capture for me specifically. I shoot like 60 and 70 this year, right at 78 weddings that I'm responsible for this year, counting what we've already shot. But let me just keep this straight and just straightforward. These two lenses are the 50 millimeter 1.2 and also the 85 millimeter 1.2. Now listen, I'm an RF guy. I've recently upgraded some of my lenses to RF. So I had the 51.2 EF. Sorry. And I also had the 85 1.4 image stabilized EF version, which is fantastic lens. But I went with the RF 85 1.2 for the 85, and then I went with a 50 millimeter 1.2. Recently got that bad boy, and those two lenses combined make up my wedding workflow. Primes, they're fantastic. They're just going to get it done. Now, depending upon the place that you shoot, if you have pretty good amount of room specifically for, your bride getting ready and all that good stuff, you don't have a closet, your 50 millimeter lens is going to be able to get it. Now, there's different versions of the 50 millimeter lens. You can go with a 1.8, you can go with a 1.4. These are EF. And you can do RF as well, but there's no 1.4 RF. There's only a 1.2 RF. There's also an F2 50, but that's a very, very, very old coveted lens that nobody ever really talks about anymore, but it's a beautiful lens. It's kind of slow. It's got the same fly-by-wire feature as the 85 1.2 lens. That's slow and clunky and heavy and all those wonderful things. But, for what it is, if that's what you want to shoot, you can do it. It'll be fantastic. The RF to EF adapter will work perfectly on any EF lens. I don't care what you say, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to adapt. It'll be fine. Save the money. If you don't have the money for the RF glass, then don't spend it. Don't spend it. Please don't spend it. But if you got the money and you can upgrade, you should totally upgrade it because two words, chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration is a real thing. And every piece of EF glass that I've shot with, except for I think the F2, 200 millimeter F2, and also the 35 millimeter version 2 EF, doesn't have a whole lot of chromatic aberration, especially when shooting into the sun, have distinctive looks, whatever. But the two lenses that I have started using that I absolutely adore, that I love, just hands down, it is a 50 millimeter 1.2 RF and also the 85 millimeter 1.2 RF. They're fantastic. We shot a wedding this last weekend. We shot a little bit with the 1.2 50. Pretty much it stayed, I would say about 80% of the time it stayed on the camera. Went for some other shots with grooms, zizzes, and the brides, and we had great separation. The 85 1.2 really has amazing separation when it comes to couples photos. But the 50 millimeter is going to have less separation because it's a little bit wider than the 85. But it just depends on how much room, how much space you have. If you're shooting with the 85 and you have groups of about probably maybe 4 and 6, you're gonna have to get away a little bit, get away so you can get that shot. And that compression is unlike anything that you can imagine. Separation between background and said subject, especially if you're shooting 1.2, which I shoot wide open all the time. I love shooting wide open. Wide open is just how I shoot. I just love it. I don't like to stop down my lenses because it just doesn't work with me. I've got so used to being a wide open photographer that the notion of stopping down is just like, it's not beneath me, because that's mean to say. I just don't do it. I don't do it. So I would love to have some examples of some footage that I've shot, but I don't really have any examples for this because this is a one take Luke. If you have any questions, please ask me. Where's my cake? Ask me, and I'll be very happy to answer them below. But my newest lens definitely is the 50 millimeter 1.2. It's great. It's sharp. It's exactly what I thought it would be. Is it worth the upgrade from the 50 millimeter EF to the RF 50 millimeter? Yes, and the reason for that is the 50 millimeter 1.2 EF. While it's a little bit older of a lens, it still has character to it. It does wonderful stuff, but it's One Take Luke. It's slow when it comes to the shutter, the way it works with the camera, because it's a little bit older of a lens. There's more connectors with the RF version than the EF version. It has nothing to do with the adapter not sending information. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with that lens isn't truly designed for the R6 or the R5, which I shoot with, but it will adapt, but it's not going to be as fast as RF glass. RF glass is just so fast. Now, if you can't afford the 85mm 1.2, you do have an option for the 85mm f2 lens. But I will say this, in the South, it gets disgustingly humid down here. It's like a $600 USD lens. And guys, I'm just going to be real with you. One of the last, probably the second to last wedding that we shot, it was so hot, it was so humid outside, that coming in from the AC, the air conditioner, the lens fogged up, not on the front element or the back element, but in the internal elements associated with 85mm f2. I need to make a separate video about that, one take on that. I'm just a little scared, like if you had that as your only lens at a wedding and it stayed fogged for the rest of the day because condensation built up inside of the lens. I went to check it in the last couple of days while it's in my podcast room, and it's not fogged up anymore, which is great. But I do know that there was a certain amount of condensation that formed inside of the 85mm f2 RF. So if you're in a place where it's not very humid and it's easy outside, humidity, like maybe out west, you should be fine to shoot with that lens. But if it's humid, be warned. I don't feel like it's truly weather sealed at all. So there's that. So any questions, guys? I ramble a lot, but hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. The 50mm lens and also the 85mm lens, that's what I would shoot with. And now yours truly is going to talk to you about the one lens that you can pretty much capture a whole wedding with, and that's the 24-70 f2.8. It's wide at 24, close in at 70. I've owned that lens. Recently sold it for $1,100 to one of my friends because she loves it and she shoots with the 5D Mark IV. EF goes right on that EF mount. That's how she shoots. She absolutely adores it, and I enjoyed it I didn't enjoy it. Like I don't shoot zooms. But if you're wanting to get just one lens that truly, will handle a wedding day, but you're not going to get the bokeh that you wanted. I mean, you can pull it in at 70mm f2.8, shooting wide open at 2.8. You're going to get great shots. They're going to be sharp shots, but there's just something different about a prime lens compared to a zoom lens. Therefore, I don't shoot the 24-70. I actually just sold my 70-200 lens because I have the 200mm f2. I'm just a prime guy. I love my primes, and I've seen that in lower light. For instance, like in a barn where there's not a lot of reflections and things of that nature, I can't really shoot like I want to shoot with a 2.8. I just can't. I just love how wide open the f1.2 is. So guys, once again, any questions? We're at 8 minutes. Oh my gosh, I've talked so much. Ask me below. Would love to help you out. Which lenses that would work for me. What do you think about this lens? I would love to help you guys out. I love to talk cameras. This is One Take Luke signing off at around 9 minutes. Have a blessed day, guys. See you soon.